Hey Nancy, it's Chris Ballew. Nancy, Art Zone with Nancy Guppy. Guppy Zone, Art, Zone, 10 years of zoning on art with Nancy. The Guppy of Nance Art, Zone. People Art, Zone, congratulations, 10 years. Chris Ballew, Nancy Guppy, Art Zone, 10 years. Wow, congratulations. I'm getting dizzy. Woo!
Hello, hello.
Hit it, hit it.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Art Zone. I'm Nancy Guppy here at beautiful Georgetown Stables. We have a terrific show for you. Take a look.
This was a struggle and an exploration of really finding myself.
John Keatley's passion project.
You're basically dancing in the air.
Tanya Brno defies gravity. A visit to the AZ Vault. And the alt-folk sound of Dravus House. We'll begin with Tanya Brno, an artist and aerialist who sculpts the air with skill and sublime grace.
I guess if I could say anything, I would just say that when you see an acrobat or an artist on stage, it's way more than that 5 minutes that you're witnessing. There's so much more that goes on behind the scenes to get them to that 5 minutes on stage. I am an aerial acrobat, and what that is a form of performance from apparatuses that are suspended from the ceiling. You're basically dancing in the air, and it's also artistic, and I find it extremely inspiring. As a child, I was encouraged by my parents to pursue artistic endeavors, so I've been in lessons since I was about 5 years old, whether that's music, singing, dancing. I was going to be a professional ballerina, and I quit when I was 19 just because it got a little bit too intense. Took a few years off and decided to go to college, and in my first year of school, I found aerial lessons, and that was it. I was hooked right away. I didn't know it was going to be my profession, but I kind of just kept going with it, and it became my profession because I loved it so much. The physical strain that I put my body through is varied from day to day. It can be quite intense if I'm rehearsing a routine. So I always do conditioning that lets me stay strong enough to continue doing what I'm doing, but if my body needs time off, I take it. There's all sorts of different ways to warm up for aerial, but I've just developed my own routine over the years that works for me. And it's a combination of ballet warm-up, yoga warm-up, and just physical therapy exercises that I need to do to help keep my back stable. It takes a few years of just even strength training to be at a level where you can perform, and it takes years after that to be at a level where people really want to see you perform in terms of how comfortable you are with your art.
It's time to make some noise for the Atomic Bombshells!
I first got involved with the Atomic Bombshells in 2013, and that was my first foray into burlesque.
Tova DeLuna is our anti-gravity expert. When she takes off, you'll say, gee whiz!
In the Lost in Space act, I am the falling star, which goes along with the Lost in Space theme. It's a vintage 70s inspired burlesque show.
As we strive toward a bright but uncertain future.
So something that sets me apart is that I've invented a lot of apparatuses. I like to create new things. The idea for the spiral was just something I saw in my head and I wanted to bring it to life. It was just a vision that I had. I had no idea it would become as big as it did all around the world.
Okay, so you have lower back disc degeneration.
Yeah.
And then you've had many back sprains.
Yeah.
Okay, so those are your past.
I have degenerative osteoarthritis in my spine, which means that I'm losing the discs in my lumbar vertebrae. So to treat my hypermobile ligaments, which has been caused by just being physical in an extreme way my whole life, I have been doing injections, which is a treatment that involves removing blood, spinning out the white blood cells, and reinserting those white blood cells into the injured parts of the body. I would love to be able to do what I do for many years to come. I don't know if that will be possible with my condition, but I think I can do some form of it. The game right now is modifying things when I have to modify them in order to keep it safe for my body.
Our very own falling star, Tova DeLuna!
The act of making people feel something through performance is very important for me, and that inspires the way that I emote when I'm in the air. I think being an artist is the ability to express and make people feel something that they otherwise don't have the permission to feel during the day. And if you can bring that out in someone, then I've done my job.
For Tanya's full performance schedule, including Monday nights at the Pink Door, go to tanyabrno.com. In the age of iPhone cameras, it's tempting to think, after snapping a decent shot of a bee on a flower, that you're a photographer. But then you see a photo taken by a pro and you realize that you're not. One of my favorite pros has released a new book called Uniform, and he is here to talk all about it, Mr. John Keatley. Hi, man. Great to see you.
Thanks for having me.
And there's the beautiful book right there. So the photos in Uniform were first shown in 2017 at Gibson Gallery in Pioneer Square. And now they're being presented in this beautiful book, so congratulations.
Thank you.
That's a big accomplishment. Now, many of us, certainly here and actually throughout the world, know you as a great portrait photographer. You've shot a lot of big names: Anthony Hopkins, Kevin Durant, Macklemore, renowned photographer Annie Leibovitz, among others. But the portraits in Uniform are not celebrities.
No.
So let's start with the concept of the book. What's the premise?
So Uniform is, it's kind of the culmination of a period of time where I was exploring identity. So like, let's explore what it happens or what it looks like when you take a group of people and you assimilate them and they all look the same with wigs and wardrobe and things like that. And then it became what happens if you take one person and you make him look completely different over 7 different characters. And that was kind of a little more also like, oh, how do you kind of perceive or judge that person? And it started to become a little more than just like exterior and physical. And then Uniform came along. I was at Disneyland with my family, and there was a parade, and they had all the characters come out, and they had the Green Army Men, who we've all seen, and grown up with. And there was just something about it, like I just instantly knew I wanted to do a series of this. And so I created this series of portraits of people who were all painted green, and we had all of the wardrobe and props painted green. So they look very much like a human version of the Green Army Man.
Well, so based on the title and the olive green garb, soldier garb, it would be easy to assume that Uniform is a commentary in some way on the military.
Right.
But that is actually not accurate, correct?
Yeah, for me, it's not about the military at all. I have no experience with the military. It's not my story. But it was the clearest analogy for what I was feeling and what I wanted to express. Essentially, what I saw was this disconnect between something like a soldier, military. It's a very heavy subject, and it's a life and death thing. And then all of a sudden you jump to this like little toy, and it's like miniaturized. It represents people, but it's used for entertainment,
Sure.
without a thought.
Right.
And I'm not judging or making any statements even about that. I think we all had those toys. But what I was really curious about is, like, at what point do you lose sight of humanity when you're talking about a very human story? And so I think for this, there was just simple things like shrinking it down, you know, to a tiny figure, painting it green, you know, wiping away like basic facial features. That disconnect really resonated with me. I felt there was something missing or off from like what's expected of me or what I'm trying to do, and then that voice inside that I think is who I am.
How did you decide, or what was the criteria for choosing the people who are the characters in the book?
I love creating characters, and so no matter what I'm doing, for me, I'm always looking for slightly exaggerated facial features. I want people who are attractive, but not in like a glamorous or like model sort of way. And beyond that, it just becomes too difficult to verbalize. So I'm just looking for people that really like spark my imagination or my curiosity.
I love the way the characters are situated in the frame, lots of headroom. So talk about the placement of the people.
Yeah, you're actually the first person that's mentioned that, which I love. So when I started shooting, it's kind of crazy. A lot of time, I mean, the mistakes are often the best things that happen when you're creating. And we were just setting up the lights, and I was taking a bunch of pictures, and sometimes I'll just take a picture like this, and I'm looking at the light on screen. It's not about if it's a good picture, it's just how does the light look. And I took a picture, and I wasn't looking through the camera, and it was off balance a little bit. But the guy was like really low in the frame, and there was something that I just loved about that. And I felt like it reinforced this idea of minimizing a person. And I had to stop and think about it. I was like, okay, I'm about to shoot all this stuff. I'm kind of committing to something here. And so I knew, though, that's what I wanted to do. So I started shooting everything like that.
Yeah, very different look, you know.
Yeah.
The green makeup, how long did it take to apply?
It didn't take that long, actually. I mean, I had two incredible makeup artists, Kemi Hart and Jennifer Popachuk did the makeup, and it took, I want to say, 20 minutes to cover them. Yeah, it didn't take that long.
Oh, okay.
So it was really just face and hands, and all of the wardrobe was already pre-painted and ready to go. So we were cranking. We were moving pretty quick.
It's really cool. It's very, it has such an impact. So were there times when you didn't quite know what you were doing, or you thought the concept for uniform was just not going to work?
Yes.
More than once.
Yeah. I mean, were there times I didn't know what I was doing? All the time. One of the big things that stands out for me when I thought the concept wasn't going to work was after the first shoot, when I really started diving into them, I didn't know what I was going to do with the eyes.
I was curious about that.
And so we tried a lot of different approaches on the eyes, and they just looked creepy or distracting or weird or unnatural. And I really thought, like, well, we gave it a shot, like, this just isn't going to work. I think it's kind of one of those times where I was able to kind of let go, and I did walk away from it for a little bit, and I just woke up one morning, and I was just like, these are sculptures, like, it's a photograph, but, like, these need to be treated as, like, a three-dimensional object. And so I started looking at just like classical sculpture and busts, and it was like they all just treated the eye the same way. It was like really simple.
So how did you do the eyes? It wasn't a contact or something like that?
No, so the eyes we actually had to do in post. So we rendered the eyes based off of the talent's actual eye and their position as well. If you change the size of the retina or even the position or where it's looking or whatever, it just throws the whole thing off. It's the weirdest thing. We had to like map them precisely to where they were.
As I mentioned, I saw these photos for the first time in 2017 at the Gibson Gallery show. So they were presented in a really stunning large portrait format. Was that your first solo show in a fine art gallery?
Yeah, that was my first one.
Which is a pretty big deal.
It was awesome.
So is your approach to shooting fine art photography, which this is, different from your approach to a commercial project?
Yeah, I would say the approaches are pretty different for both. I mean, there's certainly similarities, and I always put myself into both. And stylistically, I hope that there's more commonality. But my approach for fine art is very much that there can be no strategy involved. It has to just be what is it that I want to say and what am I interested in. For uniform, several people commented that I should take pictures of, green grenades and guns and still lifes and things. And that's fine. Someone else could have done that. I could have done it, and I probably would have sold plenty of those.
Sure.
But that's just not at all what I'm interested in and not what I want to say. And so for me, fine art has to be a completely pure approach and process. It has to be a place where I can make mistakes and try new things and ultimately say, this is a reflection of who I am. Right. This isn't an opportunity to sell a product or work with a company. And certainly that's the other thing when you're working with a commercial client. The thing you have to remember in that situation is someone is paying a lot of money for you to achieve a specific goal for them.
Yeah.
And so you want to do that in a way that's reflective of who you are, and you want to bring your style and your approach to that. But at the end of the day, it needs to work strategically, or it was a huge failure.
So in the book, you write that this project has altered the way you see yourself. So describe the change.
I mean, in many ways, I think it's allowed me to see myself differently and allowed me to embrace parts of me that I've struggled with, removing expectations or sometimes what I think other people want, even if they're not putting those expectations on me.
Sure, your internal version of that, right.
But learning to have grace with myself and be patient and just keep exploring and keep doing the work,
Do you think that uniform has made you a better photographer?
I mean, yeah, I would say for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's made me a better artist.
Well, it's a great book. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Uniform, it features 34 character portraits in a hardcover cloth-bound book, beautifully embossed on the front. It's also a limited edition. A total of 1,500 books are available. More information is at johnkeatley.com. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. High five.
Nice. I like you're not in green, you're in blue with the white.
Yeah, I try to stay away from the whole green thing.
Thanks, John.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, I've been making hats for 64 years. I started out when I was 10 years old. I was born in Chattanooga, Tennessee, where hats were very, very important. People didn't come out of the house without a hat on, When you looked down the street, you didn't see a lot of heads, you saw a lot of hats. I was a shoe shine boy in my hometown. So as a shoe shine boy, I was able to talk to the hatter a lot. So he kind of used me as his messenger boy to take messages back and forth to the ladies for him. So he taught me to be a hatter so I would stay interested in his program. So I became a hatter by being a romance arranger. It was pretty rough down there in those days because, you found brothers floating in the river tied in barbed wire and guys were hung. This was way before Martin Luther King started his thing. It seemed as though the world started to change a little bit then, started to change a lot, as a matter of fact. I thought that people weren't so much looking at color, they were just looking at what they had inside them.
As you can tell, we have wonderful music this week. The band is Dravus House, Elena Loper, Cooper Solo. Nice to have you here.
Thanks for having us.
So your music is described as alt folk. What do you think makes the Dravus House sound alternative or different from, I guess, traditional folk music?
Sure. Yeah, I grew up listening to a lot of Irish ballads and Americana ballads from is sort of traditional and kind of a more traditional canon, and I studied that in university. So sort of from early years, hearing a lot of traditional sounds and modes instrumentally and vocally, and wanting to play with those, but then also bringing in more of a contemporary alternative sound that kind of pays tribute to a lot of our favorite influences, like
there's a number of layers going on there. Yeah, you've been together for how many years? A couple of years?
2.5 years, about.
So the creative process, how do you write the songs? Is it together, separate, coming back together? How does it work?
Yeah, so I'll sort of have a song baby in full that I've sort of written and I'm playing on the guitar, and I'll take to Cooper, and he comes up.
He rips it apart.
Yeah, and he comes up with really magical parts that weave together and make the song a duo and a composite, and it just really, it brings so much, just the energy and sort of the way that Cooper's parts kind of weave together with what I've been doing. So it's really,
a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, you can feel it, actually. You can hear it, but you can feel it too. There's a nice, smooth vibe between the two of you.
Thank you.
So I know the self-titled album came out in April 2019, and we're going to hear a song off of that album, but I think we're hearing first a brand new song. Am
That's
I right?
right.
About that?
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
okay. And so what's the title of the first one?
It's called You Don't Belong Here.
You Don't Belong
About
Here. Okay.
if anyone sort of tells you that you're an outsider, there's any sort of gatekeeper going on, just that you belong here, and it's specifically dedicated to women in fields of art and music. And
Amen to that.
Thank you.
All right, are you ready to do this thing? Ready?
Yeah,
Okay.
thanks, Nancy.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Dravus House.
August in Ashland at Rose Cottage with the dead, spectral shapes surrounding my bed, a family of phantoms in black and white lace, shouted and wailed, and they shook me in place, saying you don't silence shaped you these years. My words became seashells and castles and tears. With their you don't belong here, you don't belong here, you don't belong here. Coming here was a big mistake, was a big mistake, was a big mistake.
The 2019 self-titled release from Dravus House is available now and ready to download from your favorite digital platform.
Pilar O'Connell, and I'm excited to curate this calendar of events. First up, Cafe Nordo invites you to Violet's Attic, a grand ball for wicked dolls. Tantalize all 5 senses inside the hair-raising story of a lonely girl and her dolls. Nordo is famous for landing guests in unique new worlds with its live music, immersive performance, and a 4-course meal to match. Check out this bone-chilling sensory performance now through November 24th at Nordo's Culinarium. We the Future, Young Leaders of Social Change, showcases the stories of 10 young leaders working to build an equitable and inclusive world through their respective social change movements. The opening celebration will include local youth musicians, poets, and artists, and feature a special performance by Shutez Katanatil, a climate justice advocate and hip-hop artist. Admission is free, and it opens on October 5th at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation Discovery Center. Next, get ready for a spooky night of improv inspired by the master of horror, Stephen King. Performers will take audience suggestions to weave a never-before-seen King story with iconic characters Pennywise, Carrie, and Christine. Expect fun, humor, drama, and of course terror when Unexpected Productions presents Stephen King Unexpected, October 6th through November 17th. And I can't wait for you to check out my show, Pony World's Seattle premiere of The Christians by Lucas Nath. Pastor Paul shocks his congregation and his wife Elizabeth when he delivers a surprise message that tests his followers' faith and disrupts his marriage. The play asks one of the most important questions of our times. Can we still love each other if we hold different beliefs? Catch the Obie Award-winning play, The Christians, in churches around Seattle. All audiences are welcome. We play now through October 26th.
Thanks, Pilar. We want to give a shout out to one of Seattle's premier art galleries, Gibson Gallery, which stands for Gail Gibson, the owner. The gallery opened its doors in 1991, and after 28 years of showcasing an outstanding roster of artists, many of whom are local, has decided to transition from a bricks and mortar operation to a private dealing and consult business with an online presence. We're sad, of course, to see G. Gibson's storefront go away, but Gail and gallery director Casey Potter-DeHaan will continue to represent and sell excellent art, and we fully support their new adventure. Check out Photo Finish, their final in-gallery show, running now through October 12th. And that's a wrap. Thanks so much for tuning in. Have a great week, and we will see you real soon.
But because it will end, I can slow dance. I can slow dance on my own.
Art Zone is filmed on location at Georgetown Stables, the coolest event space in Seattle. More information is at georgetownstables.com.